Right, we're going to start off talking about where we get the Scores and Notes food hygiene ratings from, which is this website here, which is linked in the SWE. This is going to be a little bit odd. We can download the data from here. Now, if we click on this, so far so good. It'll try to do itself. About the data, various things, and we scroll down and we find eventually what we're interested in. Right, we'll get there in the end. Should just search for this. Okay, Northeast Middlesbrough, right. Okay, Middlesbrough English language, updated fairly recently. 1,200 businesses, right. We click on this and we get this, and you're saying, what the hell is this? Well, this is what's known as XML format. You look it up in Wikipedia and various other places. It's a set of rules that enable documents in a format that can be both human readable, apparently, and machine readable. From our point of view, machine readable means we can open it in Excel. So what we're going to do is download this, and then we're going to open it in Excel and save it in a particular format. So we're going to here, and we're going to save, save page as. We'll just save it as it is. Doesn't take long to save. There it is. It's appeared here now. Right, so I'm going to open up Excel. Actually, I'll just open, as I said, I'll just open up Excel. Got a blank worksheet, and we can drop this in. It asks you a number of questions. We want to open it as an XML table, basically. So we click on that. We say yes to this, okay. And it appears as something which is now sort of recognizable as a Excel spreadsheet. So it's got a bunch of information in here, some which we don't actually need, and we'll talk about deleting that a little bit later on. But for the moment, what we need to do is we need to save it in a specific format. We don't want to save it as an Excel file. We want to save it as something called a comma-separated value file. So we've got a file, and we go to Save As. And it's got Excel work, but we don't want that. We want comma delimited. CSV stands for comma separated value. We click on that. Now, Excel used to complain quite a lot about this. It seems a bit better now. And we just save it. And you need to keep it in this format now. So where's that gone? There it is. Okay, so I'll close that up. Got two versions of Excel there. Don't need that anymore. Right, so we'll open that up. Right, and as we can see, this is the information in the form which we can now upload directly into our Esri map. Right, so we'll have a look at how to do that. Close that up. Right, so I've gone back to our Esri map we created a little while ago, and we're going to add. What we're going to do is add a layer. Now, I need to talk a little bit about layers before we go any further. So I'm going to open up a little presentation here. Maps work on the basis of layers. So the first layer we have in our map was the base map, which in this case is a street map of Middlesbrough environs. To that we then added another layer directly superimposed on top of the first layer with the low super output area boundaries, which we then coloured in based on the index of multiple deprivation information. I haven't shown that there because it's essentially the same layer. The colours are the same layer. We're now going to add another layer which will include scores on the doors information, which is very straightforward to do in a general way, but then we need to think about how we can actually do it in a way which will allow us to use the information creatively. Right, so I'll get rid of that. Right, so we go to add. You can add layer from web if you have information. What we're going to do is add layer from a file. There's a number of things we can import. Shape files, which are what we've already got. CSV or text files. Notice it doesn't say Excel. It won't import Excel. It must be in CSV file. So I'll go to browse. And I've got a bunch of these here already, so it'll save me a little bit of time. So this is the same basic information which we've just seen. So we said, well, Borough Scores and Notes 2021, the basic information. import layer, it's saying there's several things which it can't deal with. We don't need to worry about this. Right, so it's just added all of the scores of the doors information based on postcode. We can do other things. We can add, the obvious one I think is business name. It's not fantastically useful at the minute, and we'll talk about how to make it more useful in a second. But I'll click on done for now. And if we zoom in and click on any of these, we'll get a bunch of information about based on these scores and doors information. So this is a Cargo Fleet club, Cargo Fleet bar club in Cargo Fleet. It's got the location information. It's got the hygiene rating, which is 5, which is pretty good. And it's got things like the business type. This is a pub, bar, nightclub. We click on something else and try to find something different. There's a restaurant, cafe, canteen. Yeah, it's again another restaurant. Most of these are sort of restaurants and cafes. We do have supermarkets, so we do have smaller shops as well. There's a school, Berry Hills Primary School. Right, so this isn't fantastically useful at the moment because he's just dumped all of the scores and the doors information on. What we want is actual separate layers for each category that we're interested in. So let's have a think about that. So what I'm going to do is hide that. It's gone now. You can delete it. We'll actually leave it on here for now. There's no reason not to. Okay, I'll bring in my folder which has my various scores and the doors things. So there's where we just had a look at the basic information. I've actually done a few changes on this compared to the original information. I've reduced it down to the information which we're really interested in. So the number of quite a number of columns have disappeared. Now, one of the things about CSV is you can't have fancy formatting. It's just the most basic format. So we've got a number of things here which I decided are useful. Look at the original file and you can see what I've removed. We've got the business name, we've got the business type, which is very important. I've sorted it on business type. We've got the address, got the postcode, what its rating value, a bunch of things waiting for inspection there, and the number which is 5. When the rating was done, which is kind of interesting stuff. The hygiene ratings, the structural informations, and the confidence and management informations, and the longitude and latitude information, which is where the information is placed on the map. Now, what the information I did directly wasn't doing was separating, for example, distributors from farmers and growers and from hospitals. If we scroll down, we'll see a load of other types of information. So what I've done is I've basically by hand broken this spreadsheet information down into a number, I don't really need to save that, into a number of different separate ones. So for example, I've got one there which just has the takeaway information on. If you look at the business type, we'll see they are all just takeaways. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to add another couple of layers onto this, and I'll produce a map which has all of them on later on. So I'll get rid of that for a second, and again we'll go to add from file, browse. So we'll start off at the bottom with takeaways and sandwiches. Right, import layer. Okay, it's quite nice. It's found all the sandwich shops. We need to change these, I think, to the business name. So when we click on the information, we get the business name. Okay, it's showing us there what they are. Right, again, if we click on done, zoom in again, we click on any of these, it gives us the information. Now, it's added some colours here and there randomly. We can go in here and we can do various things to improve this. One thing we could do, which may or may not be useful, is to add what's called a cluster point, where it summarises the number within a particular super output area. It might be quite useful, and we may have a look at that later on, but for now we're not going to worry about this. Right, so we want to edit this. So again, we need to go into change style again, because the first thing we want to do is set up so when we click on it, we get the business name as the main attribute. Now, if we go to location single symbol, click on options. There are a range of symbols we can use. In this case, I'm going to leave it as, okay, we'll call it, we'll give it a blue star. You can change the size. There's a number of various things you do. At the moment, we set it to 8 pixels. You can make it really big. But for now, we'll just leave it as 8 pixels. Click on OK. And now when we zoom in, it's a little bit small, perhaps. Perhaps we'll make that a little bit bigger. So symbols, we'll make that a little bit bigger. Make that look 15 or 16 pixels. Okay, so now we've got a slightly bigger star. Right, so we'll click on OK and done. Okay, so that's one layer. I've got a couple of these basic ones here which we'll probably delete later on. So we've got the takeaways and sandwich shops there. But we might want to add another layer, and we almost certainly are going to want to add another layer. So again, we go to File, usual stuff we do. In this case, we'll add school, college and university, because obviously the relationship between takeaways and schools is something which a lot of people are interested in. Click on Open, click on Import Layer, and now we've got a second set. So this is going to be quite useful. So click on Done. You can change the symbol if you want, and I think we probably will. So we'll go into Change Style. Again, we want it centered on business name, which includes schools. It has to be said. Click on Select, Options, Symbols. Now let's have something a little bit more distinct. Let's have an orange circle, and again we'll make this perhaps a little bit bigger. We'll make it 20 points. Click on OK. And now it's quite clear where the two layers are. So we'll click on Done. And now we've got our indices of multiple deprivation mapped. You may need to change the transparencies and various other aspects of this, but one thing we can do is we can turn these on and off. So you can say as part of a presentation, these are indexes of multiple deprivation, and if we look at the distribution of takeaways and then compare them to the distribution of schools and colleges, we see a range of different patterns. Okay, right, now I'll do a full map of this with all of the layers on, which I will share with everyone. But that's all I want to say about this for now. Right, okay, so I'm back there for a slight encore on symbols. I've added a bunch of things here which I'll show you, which we can turn on, and some of them are just your basic symbols, stars and dots. But there are a range of other symbols available. So caterers, I've got there a little crossy thing. Mobiles, which is actually where the business is registered rather than where the business operates. We've got a little car. Right, so we'll add another layer. We're going to add now pub bar. Where are we up to? Yeah, okay, right. So we'll add pubs. Pub bar nightclub. Okay, import layer. Usual stuff it says. And again, we see the collection of dots, which we will first change the business name and then go into location, single symbol. And under symbols, at the moment, originally it was set to basic shapes, okay, but there's a bunch of other things which you can look under. It doesn't seem to be fantastically big on sort of businesses and things like that. Maybe look at people and places. Yeah, people and places somewhere in here. Yes, there's a tankard. So we'll add a tankard. Obviously, you may not want to do this if it's a high-level professional presentation you're doing, but it seems a reasonable thing to do. And there's the pubs scattered around the town. So what have we got here? We got there the... no, did I add the... I don't think I did. I did the business name, so I didn't find it. The red line there. Right, okay, so there are a range of other symbols you can use. All right, so I'll just pause that and I'll come back and I'll show you when I've added all of the layers. Right, okay, so here's a map with all of the scores of the doors information added in. A little bit confusing, obviously, which is why you would use these things to turn them off. So you're interested just in supermarkets, we just leave the top two. Yeah, and so there we are. So the black stars are small supermarkets, I think, non-retailers which aren't supermarkets, and the blue stars are supermarkets. Right, so there we are.